The rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn gleamed under the streetlights, but Elena Martinez's heart pounded louder than the city's pulse. She stood frozen outside a dimly lit diner, clutching a crumpled letter that could unravel her life. At 28, she was about to sign away her freedom for a green card, her only shot at staying in the country she'd called home for a decade. Elena pushed open the diner's door, the bell jingling like a warning. The air smelled of coffee and grease, but her eyes locked on a woman at a corner booth. Harper Sullivan, 30, with short blonde hair and a leather jacket that screamed defiance. Harper wasn't just a stranger offering a marriage of convenience. She was a storm Elena hadn't seen coming. "You're late," Harper said, her voice low but warm, green eyes scanning Elena with a mix of curiosity and caution. "Thought you'd chickened out." Elena slid into the booth, her hands trembling as she set the letter down. "I almost did," she admitted, her accent soft but steady. This feels like selling my soul." Harper leaned forward, her gaze softening. "It's just a signature, Elena. A year, maybe 2, and you're free. No strings, no mess." But Elena knew nothing was that simple. She'd fled Venezuela at 18, leaving behind a family that rejected her for loving women, for daring to dream beyond their small village's expectations. America was her refuge, her chance to be herself until her visa expired, and deportation loomed like a guillotine. The marriage was her lifeline, arranged through a discreet agency that paired desperate immigrants with citizens willing to help for a price. Harper, a freelance photographer with a knack for bending rules, was her match. The diner's hum faded as Elena studied Harper. There was a spark in her, a reckless energy that both scared and drew Elena in. "Why are you doing this?" Elena asked. "You don't know me. You could get caught." Harper shrugged, sipping her coffee. "Money's nice, but I've got my reasons. Let's just say I'm not a fan of systems that screw people over." Elena wanted to believe her, but trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. She'd learned that the hard way lovers who promise forever, only to vanish when her truth came out. Still, Harper's eyes held something genuine, a flicker of empathy that made Elena's chest ache. They spent the next hour hashing out details. The marriage would be legal but platonic, a performance for immigration officers. They'd live together in Harper's Brooklyn loft, share a few staged photos, and attend interviews to prove their love. Harper would get $10,000. Elena would get to stay. Simple, clean, transactional. But as they left the diner, Harper's hand brushed Elena's while passing her an umbrella. The touch lingered, electric, and Elena's breath caught. She cursed herself. She couldn't afford to feel anything, not when her future hung by a thread. Over the next week, Elena moved into Harper's loft, a cluttered space filled with camera gear, vinyl records, and half-finished canvases. Harper was a whirlwind, charming one moment, distant the next. She'd blast music while cooking late-night tacos, teasing Elena about her terrible taste in salsa, but she'd also disappear for hours, leaving Elena alone with her doubts. One night, as rain battered the windows, Elena found Harper's photo portfolio on the coffee table. The images were raw portraits of street vendors, drag queens, and protesters, each capturing a story of resilience. Elena's fingers traced a photo of a woman laughing in the rain, her face alive with joy. "Who's this?" she asked when Harper returned. Harper glanced over, her expression tightening. "Someone I used to know," she said, her voice clipped. "She's gone now." The silence that followed was heavy, and Elena sensed a wound Harper wasn't ready to share. She didn't push, but the moment shifted something between them. They weren't just strangers anymore, they were two people carrying ghosts, bound by a fragile deal. Days turned into weeks, and the facade of their marriage took shape. They staged photos at Coney Island, laughing awkwardly as Harper snapped selfies of them sharing cotton candy. Elena's heart raced when Harper's arm looped around her waist, her touch warm even through the charade. At night, they'd sit on the fire escape, sharing beers and stories. Elena's childhood in Caracas, Harper's rebellious teens in upstate New York. Each conversation peeled back layers, revealing dreams and fears neither expected to share. But the immigration interview loomed, a ticking clock. Elena practiced answers in the mirror, memorizing Harper's favorite color, green, and her coffee order, black, no sugar. Harper coached her with a grin, but her eyes held a flicker of worry. "You've got this," she'd say, but Elena heard the unspoken. "If we mess this up, you're gone." One evening as they rehearsed, Harper's phone buzzed with a text. Her face darkened as she read it, then shoved the phone away. "Everything okay?" Elena asked. "Just family stuff," Harper muttered, but her hands shook as she lit a cigarette. Elena didn't pry, but the air felt heavier, charged with secrets. The night before the interview, Elena couldn't sleep. She wandered into the living room, finding Harper awake, staring at a photo of a young girl with her eyes. "My sister," Harper said quietly, unprompted. "She died 5 years ago. Drunk driver. My parents. They blamed me for not being there." Elena's heart twisted. She sat beside Harper, their shoulders brushing. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know what it's like to lose family." Harper looked at her, eyes raw. "Yeah, but you're still fighting for yours." "Me? I'm just running." In that moment, Elena saw Harper not the cocky photographer, but a woman haunted by loss, hiding behind bravado. Without thinking, Elena reached for her hand. Harper didn't pull away. The interview was a blur of questions, their hands clasped under the table as they spun a story of love. The officer's skeptical gaze bore into them, but Harper's quick wit and Elena's quiet conviction sold the lie. They passed barely. As they left the immigration office, relief crashed over Elena, but so did something else. A longing she couldn't name. Harper grinned, pulling her into a hug that felt too real. "We did it, Martinez," she whispered, her breath warm against Elena's ear. But Elena knew the truth. The marriage might be fake, but the feelings stirring inside her were dangerously real. The Brooklyn loft felt different after the interview, like the air itself held its breath. Elena and Harper had crossed a line, not just with immigration but with each other. The hug outside the office lingered in Elena's mind, Harper's arms strong, her scent a mix of leather and citrus, her heartbeat steady against Elena's chest. They fell into a rhythm, a delicate dance of roommates playing spouses. Mornings were spent sipping coffee over Harper's cluttered kitchen table, evenings sprawled on the couch watching old rom-coms, laughing at the cliches but stealing glances when the other wasn't looking. Elena caught herself memorizing the way Harper's eyes crinkled when she smiled, or how her fingers tapped rhythms on her camera when she was deep in thought. It was dangerous, this pull, but Elena couldn't stop it. Harper, for her part, seemed to teeter on the edge of something too. She'd leave notes for Elena, grab bagels, don't eat all the cream cheese, and cook elaborate dinners, claiming it was just to keep up appearances. But the way her gaze lingered when Elena laughed, or how she'd casually brush Elena's arm while passing the salt, told a different story. One Saturday, Harper dragged Elena to a street fair in Williamsburg. The air buzzed with music and the smell of grilled corn. Harper, in her element, snapped photos of vendors and kids with painted faces, her energy infectious. "Come on, Martinez, live a little," she teased, tossing Elena a stick of cotton candy. Their fingers brushed and Elena's pulse spiked. She wondered if Harper felt it too, the spark that wasn't part of their deal. As they wandered, a fortune teller's tent caught Harper's eye. "Let's do it," she said, grinning. "For fun." Elena hesitated but followed, the cramped tent smelling of incense and mystery. The fortune teller, an older woman with sharp eyes, studied their palms. "You too," she said, "are bound by more than you think. But secrets will test you." Elena laughed it off, but Harper's smile faltered. Later, as they walked home, Elena asked, "You believe in that stuff?" "Nah," Harper said too quickly. "But, you ever feel like something's coming, and you're not ready?" Elena nodded, her throat tight. She wanted to ask more, to dig into the shadows Harper kept locked away, but a call interrupted them. Harper's phone lit up with "Mom" on the screen. She ignored it, but her mood shifted, her usual spark dimmed. That night, Elena woke to the sound of Harper pacing. She found her on the fire escape, cigarette in hand, staring at the city. "Can't sleep?" Elena asked, wrapping a blanket around herself. Harper exhaled a plume of smoke. "Family drama. My parents. They're coming to visit. Next week." Elena's stomach dropped. "Do they know about us?" "No," Harper said, her voice tight. "They think I'm single. Always have. They don't get me, Elena. Never did." Elena sat beside her, the cold metal biting through the blanket. "What happened with them?" Harper hesitated, then spoke, her words raw. "After my sister died, I fell apart. Started fights, ran away, loved who I wanted, girls mostly. They called it a phase, said I was broken. When I came out, they cut me off. Haven't seen them in years. Elena's heart ached. She knew that kind of rejection, the sting of family turning away. I'm sorry, she said, her hand finding Harper's. You're not broken. You're incredible. Harper looked at her, eyes glistening. For a moment, Elena thought she might lean in, close the gap between them. But Harper pulled back, standing abruptly. We should sleep. Big week ahead. The visit loomed like a storm. Harper's parents, Claire and Robert, arrived with stiff smiles and probing questions. Elena played her role, the doting wife, but the tension was suffocating. Claire's eyes lingered on Elena's accent, her questions laced with judgment. How did you two meet? She asked over dinner, her tone implying doubt. Harper jumped in, spinning a tale of love at a photography exhibit. Elena marveled at her ease, but noticed the strain in her jaw, the way her fork trembled. Robert, a gruff man with a pastor's demeanor, barely spoke, but his silence felt like disapproval. After dinner, Claire cornered Elena in the kitchen. You seem nice, she said, her smile cold. But Harper's always been impulsive. This marriage's sudden. Elena's pulse raced. We love each other, she said, the lie tasting bitter. But as she said it, she realized how much she wished it were true. The visit stretched into days, each one a tightrope walk. Harper's parents didn't know about the green card, but their presence forced Elena and Harper closer, sharing a bed to keep up appearances, their bodies inches apart in the dark. Elena could feel Harper's warmth, hear her soft breathing, and it took everything not to reach out. One night, after Claire and Robert left for their hotel, Harper collapsed onto the couch, exhausted. I can't do this, she muttered. Pretending for them for immigration. It's too much. Elena sat beside her, heart pounding. Then don't pretend, she said softly. Not with me. Harper's eyes met hers, searching, vulnerable. Elena, if we cross that line, we can't go back. Before Elena could respond, Harper's phone buzzed again, another text from her mom. Harper read it, her face paling. They're staying longer, she said, voice hollow. And they want to meet your family. Elena froze. Her family was a continent away. Their rejection a wound that still bled. I can't, she whispered. They don't know I'm here. They don't want me. Harper reached for her, their hands intertwining. Then we'll figure it out. Together. The word together hung between them, a promise and a risk. Elena wanted to believe it, but fear gnawed at her, fear of losing Harper, of losing everything. The idea of family haunted Elena like a ghost she couldn't outrun. Harper's parents' demand to meet hers was a knife to the heart. Their family in Venezuela had disowned her years ago, their last words calling her love a sin. Now in Harper's loft, with the weight of their fake marriage pressing down, Elena felt the walls closing in. We'll make it work, Harper said, her voice steady despite the chaos. They sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by takeout containers, brainstorming a plan. Harper suggested hiring actors to pose as Elena's family, but the idea felt hollow. Or we could say they're overseas, too far to visit, she offered. Elena shook her head. Your mom's suspicious already. She'll dig until she finds something. She toyed with a chopstick, her mind racing. Maybe we tell part of the truth. That I'm estranged. Harper's eyes softened. That's heavy, Elena. You sure? No, Elena admitted, her voice breaking. But what choice do I have? The next day, they met Claire and Robert at a cafe in Manhattan. The air was thick with tension, Claire's smile more like a grimace. Elena's hand shook as she explained, her voice low but clear. My family. They don't accept me. I haven't spoken to them in years. Claire's eyebrows shot up, but Robert's face softened just for a moment. That's a shame, he said, the first kind words he'd spoken. Harper squeezed Elena's hand under the table, a silent anchor. But Claire wasn't satisfied. No family at all? That's unusual. Her tone dripped with skepticism, and Elena's stomach churned. Harper jumped in, her voice sharp. Not everyone gets a perfect family, Mom. Can we drop it? The table fell silent, and Elena felt the weight of every lie they'd told. She excused herself, slipping into the bathroom to splash water on her face. Her reflection looked haunted, the face of someone caught between worlds. She loved Harper was starting to, but every step closer felt like a step toward disaster. Back at the loft, Harper's parents announced they'd stay another week, citing concerns about their daughter's life. The pressure was suffocating, and Elena noticed Harper withdrawing, her usual spark dimmed. One night, Elena found her on the fire escape, staring at the stars. "You okay?" Elena asked, sitting beside her. Harper sighed, her breath visible in the cold. "They make me feel like I'm 16 again, screwing everything up. I thought I was past this." Elena hesitated, then spoke. "You're not a screw-up. You're the strongest person I know." Harper turned, her green eyes searching Elena's. "You don't get it. I'm not strong. I'm just surviving. Like you." The vulnerability in her voice cracked something in Elena. She reached out, brushing a strand of hair from Harper's face. The touch was gentle, but it set her lilies aflame. Harper froze, then leaned into Elena's hand, her eyes fluttering shut. "Elena," she whispered, "we can't." But Elena didn't pull away. "Why not?" "Because this isn't real," Harper said, but her voice wavered. "It's just a deal." "Is it?" Elena challenged, her heart racing. Harper opened her eyes, and for a moment time stopped. Then she pulled away, standing. "We've got enough lies to keep up. Let's not add more." The rejection stung, but Elena saw the fear in Harper's eyes. She didn't push, but the distance between them grew, a silent ache. The next day, Claire insisted on a family dinner at a fancy restaurant. The charade was exhausting. Harper's hand on Elena's knee felt like a lifeline, but Claire's questions were relentless. "How do you plan to build a life together?" she asked, her eyes narrowing. Harper answered smoothly, but Elena felt the walls closing in. After dinner, Robert pulled Harper aside, his voice low but audible. "She's lovely, Harper, but this feels rushed. Are you sure?" Elena's heart sank. She slipped away, needing air, but Harper followed her outside. "Hey," Harper said, grabbing her arm. "What's wrong?" "Your dad's right," Elena said, tears burning. "This isn't real. I'm just a burden." Harper's face fell. "Don't say that. You're not." "Then what am I?" Elena demanded, her voice breaking. Harper stepped closer, her hands cupping Elena's face. "You're everything I didn't expect." The kiss came before Elena could think. A desperate, hungry clash of lips in the alley outside the restaurant. Harper's hands tangled in Elena's hair, and Elena melted into her, the world fading away. But headlights flashed and they broke apart, breathless. Claire stood at the alley's entrance, her face a mask of shock. "Harper," she said, her voice cold. "We need to talk. Now." The alley felt like a trap, the city's hum a distant roar as Claire's gaze pinned Harper and Elena in place. Elena's heart thundered, the kiss still burning on her lips. Harper stepped in front of her, protective, but her voice shook. "Mom, it's not what you think." Claire's eyes flashed with something dangerous, disapproval, maybe betrayal. "I saw enough," she said, her voice icy. This is why you've been distant. Sneaking around like teenagers." Elena's stomach twisted. The marriage was a lie, but the kiss was the truth, and now it was unraveling everything. Harper grabbed Elena's hand, pulling her toward the street. "We're leaving," she said, her tone final. In the cab ride home, silence suffocated them. Elena stared out the window, the city blurring past, her mind replaying Claire's face. Harper's hand rested on hers, but the weight of the moment kept them apart. Back at the loft, Harper poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handing one to Elena. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice raw. "I didn't mean for her to see that." Elena took a sip, the burn grounding her. "Are you sorry it happened?" Harper's eyes met hers, intense and unguarded. "No. I've wanted to do that for weeks." The admission hit Elena like a wave. She set her glass down, stepping closer. "Then why stop?" Harper's jaw tightened. "Because my parents will ruin this. They'll dig, Elena. If they suspect the marriage is fake, they could report us." Elena's breath caught. Deportation wasn't just a word, it was a void. A return to a place that didn't want her. "What do we do?" Harper ran a hand through her hair. "We stick to the plan. Act normal. They leave in a few days." But normal was impossible. The kiss had changed everything. and Claire's suspicions hung over them like a storm cloud. The next morning, Claire and Robert showed up unannounced, their faces grim. Claire wasted no time. "Harper, we need to talk about Elena." Harper crossed her arms. "There's nothing to talk about." "There is," Claire said sharply. "This marriage feels convenient. We're worried you're being taken advantage of." Elena's heart stopped. The accusation stung, but it wasn't wrong. She was using Harper even if her feelings were real. She stepped forward, voice steady. "I love your daughter. That's all you need to know." Harper's eyes widened, and for a moment, Elena thought she'd gone too far. But Harper slipped an arm around her waist, pulling her close. "She's right. We're good. You don't need to worry." Robert spoke up, his voice softer than Claire's. "We just want you to be happy, Harper. After everything, we don't want you hurt." The mention of everything hung heavy Harper's sister, her past. Elena felt Harper tense, but she didn't pull away. "I'm happy," Harper said, her voice firm. "For the first time in years." Claire's lips thinned, but she didn't argue. After they left, Harper turned to Elena, her eyes soft. "Did you mean that? About loving me?" Elena's throat tightened. I think I do." Harper's smile was small but real. "Good. Because I'm falling for you too." The confession should have been a relief, but it only heightened the stakes. They spent the day planning, tightening their story for any more questions. But Elena couldn't shake the fear that Claire was watching, waiting for a slip. That night, they cooked together, the tension easing as they danced around the kitchen to Harper's favorite jazz playlist. Elena chopped onions, tears streaming, and Harper laughed, wiping them away with her thumb. Their fingers lingered, and soon they were kissing again, slow and deliberate, the world falling away. But the bubble burst when Harper's phone rang. Claire again. Harper answered, her face hardening. "What do you mean you're checking on us?" A pause, then, "Mom, that's insane." "Stop." She hung up, her hands shaking. "She's hired someone to look into our marriage. A private investigator." Elena's blood ran cold. "Can she do that?" "She's my mom," Harper said bitterly. "She does what she wants." The next few days were a blur of paranoia. Every knock at the door, every stranger on the street felt like a threat. Harper and Elena stuck to their routine public dates. Staged affection, but the fear of exposure loomed. One night, Harper caught Elena staring out the window, lost in thought. "Hey," Harper said, wrapping her arms around Elena from behind. "We'll get through this." Elena leaned into her, the warmth grounding her. "What if we don't?" Harper turned her around, her eyes fierce. "Then we fight. I'm not losing you." The words were a lifeline. But Elena couldn't shake the feeling that their time was running out. The loft was no longer a sanctuary. It was a battlefield. Elena woke each morning with a knot in her stomach, the threat of Claire's investigator lurking like a shadow. Harper tried to keep things light, cracking jokes and stealing kisses, but the strain was etched into her eyes. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the immigration office, a follow-up interview, scheduled in 2 days. Elena's heart sank. "They're checking again," she whispered, clutching the paper. Harper read it over her shoulder, her jaw tight. "Claire. This has her written all over it." They prepped relentlessly, quizzing each other on every detail of their marriage. But the fear of exposure was suffocating. Elena's dreams were haunted by visions of deportation, of losing Harper, of being alone again. The night before the interview, Harper pulled Elena onto the fire escape, the city glittering below. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Harper said, her voice low, "this is real. You and me." Elena's eyes burned with tears. "I'm scared, Harper." Harper kissed her forehead, her arms strung around her. "I know. But you're not alone anymore." The interview was a gauntlet. The officer, a stern woman with sharp eyes, grilled them on everything: dates, habits, plans. Elena's voice shook, but Harper's steady presence kept her grounded. They held hands, their story seamless, but the officer's final question hit like a punch. "We've received an anonymous tip suggesting this marriage is fraudulent. Any comment?" Elena froze, but Harper leaned forward, her voice calm. "Whoever said that doesn't know us. We're building a life together. That's the truth." The officer's gaze lingered, but she nodded, dismissing them. Outside, Elena's legs nearly gave out. Harper caught her, whispering, We're okay. We did it. But they weren't safe yet. That evening, Claire showed up at the loft alone, her face a mask of determination. I know what's going on, she said. This marriage is a sham. Harper's eyes blazed. You don't know anything, Mom. Claire's voice softened, but her words cut. I'm trying to protect you, Harper. She's using you for a green card. Elena's heart shattered. She stepped forward, tears streaming. I love her. I didn't plan this, but I do. If you report us, I'll lose everything, but I won't let you hurt her. Claire's eyes widened, and for the first time she seemed uncertain. Harper took Elena's hand, her voice steady. Mom, if you do this, you're not just hurting Elena. You're losing me. The room was silent, the weight of Harper's words sinking in. Claire's shoulders sagged. I didn't realize, she said softly. I just wanted you to be happy. Then let me be, Harper said, her voice breaking. Claire left without another word, and Elena collapsed into Harper's arms, sobbing. Do you think she'll stop? She asked. Harper held her tight. I think she heard me. For once. Days later, a letter arrived, no further interviews required. Elena's green card was approved. The relief was overwhelming, but the real victory was the shift in Harper. She called her parents, inviting them to dinner not as a performance, but as a step toward healing. At the dinner, Claire apologized, her eyes wet. I was wrong, she said to Elena. You're family now. Elena's heart swelled. She'd come to America seeking freedom, but found something great: a family who accepted her, and a love she never expected. As she and Harper held hands under the table, Elena knew that no matter what came next, they'd face it together. Months later, they stood on the same rooftop from the image prompt, the city alive below them. Harper pulled Elena close, her voice a whisper. This is our home, Elena. You're my home. Elena smiled, tears falling. And you're mine. Their kiss was a promise, sealed against the Skylinia family, forged not by blood, but by love, resilience, and the courage to be true. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.